haters who are out there watching.
I want to warn people about hypnoporn.
We need to stay meta.
Like, what?
If Jim would shut up for a second.
Oh, high fidelity.
Okay, don't tell me to shut up.
I'm not whining.
I eat doggies. I eat doggies. Feels like a party.
Stop that. It's a war. They have made it so that I cannot be celebrating July 4th.
This is 6 Degrees of Stew. You don't need to stay meta, but I'm glad you're here. Hi, everybody. I am back. And let me pour my drink here. It has been a long 2 weeks. This is kind of a, oh, gosh, mess. This is why I keep towels here. Oh, my. A long 2 weeks. I want to thank everybody for allowing my family the time, to grieve as we were going through everything. As many of you know, Taj had gone away a month previous to our grandmother. It was his grandmother, but I call her my grandmother. We've been together almost 30 years. So, of course, I call her my grandmother, too. He had gone away a month previous to go and help his family in Ohio. His aunt was in the hospital at that time and his grandmother at the same time. So it was a lot then. And they had chosen to proceed with hospice for his grandmother. And she was nearing her 93rd birthday. And she was not in good health. And it had proceeded to her legs. And a lot of things were going on, and she was in operable surgery again for her legs and things like that. So we had chosen hospice for her. Hi, Winky. I'm so glad to be back too. Oh, look at how big Bella is on there. I don't know why that's so big, like that picture there. That's so weird. What is going on with my stream? That is weird. I don't know why that's so big. My chat overlay, this is all Wonka do here. But she looks cute. She actually passed away on her birthday. So she reached a full 93 years old. It was a hard time, and I lost a good college friend during that time, and another friend that we're close with, her son passed away from ALS that he had suffered with for a couple years. So it was just really, hi, Muggsy. Oh, I'm glad you're here. Thank you. Bella's so huge on there. I love looking at her. She looks adorable. I do not know what's going on. That's hilarious that she's so big there. She's cracking me up. I loved her. So it was just really a lot. Trying not to get choked up here. And we had a wonderful church service, never been to Pentecostal. So that was quite amazing. I can't take looking at Bella. It's cracking me up. She is making me laugh. She's giving me energy. I can't see any of my chat. I don't know what's going on. It's hilarious. There we go. I'll just do that so Bella doesn't keep cracking me up. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, so I decided to hop on here and kind of she is bringing the joy. I wonder, let me see. No, she's still there. Bella is part of the show. So I did have, before all of this happened, I had that government cheese thing, and I was really going to go in depth with that, but I wanted to do a good job on it. And I kind of know all this anti-fascist stuff, and I decided to kind of come back with that. I have to do Christmas decorating. I still got to get that up. I just got down Halloween. So we took that down, and I have to run uptown today, and I have to write out bills, and everything's just kind of backwards, but I want to kind of just get back into the swing of things. And I watched this documentary, and it's from, where is it from? It's out of, hold on one second. Twin Cities PBS. And it is on the history of the modern U.S. anti-fascist movement, and it starts out with a lot of people don't realize where it started the movement. And where I came across this was, and I'll pull up the Patreon article at the end, is Jim Stewartson, which if you're new to my channel and you don't know, you can go to my Patreon. A lot of the articles are free on there and a lot of the videos that I've done. That's kind of how I got into a lot of this. But he has a very complicated and relationship with Antifa, anti-fascist terminology, what it means, how it originated, a lot of conspiracy theories about it. So I had written a Patreon article about it. And I'm going to share that because it's behind a paywall, but I'm going to share that at the end of this. And within that, I talk about the history of the U.S. anti-fascist movement. But this documentary does a really good job because it goes back to the Baldies and how that originated, and then how that goes into the ARA, and then how we keep progressing along. And it's really good. And it shows how this group of 16 and 17-year-olds really took it to the Nazis that were, trying to do things in their area, and they wanted to fight back against that. So I thought I would share that with everybody today to give you a little background on that. We'll discuss the Patreon article and just kind of get into it. It's a really good documentary. PBS did a great job, and they show these kids as adults now and what they're still doing. And if you're familiar with, what's his name? Hold on one second. I had this thing put up. Lamar Jenkins, I believe is his name. He does the One People's Project. I'm probably getting his first name wrong, and I feel horrible right now. But he was part of ARA in the early 2000s. He does the One People's Project. So, I mean, this has a really big lineage that starts with these 16 and 17-year-old kids who are like, fuck these Nazis. Like, you get no quarter in our city. And they just started off, punk rockers going to these shows and had really just quite had enough of all of this. So I'm going to start that. Yeah. Like I said, I just kind of wanted to get back into this and break it, kind of break the seal without crying when I got on stage. And I missed you all terribly. I really did. So it's only 50 minutes long, so we'll pause and we can talk if you guys have questions. I'm going to make sure the volume. I'll be right on top of this so you guys can see it bigger. There we go. Let's see if I can put the chat back up without the cute doggy.
Okay, listen up. This is the story of the Baldies. We were a skinhead crew. An anti-racist skinhead crew. Before things got political, and before we fought Nazis, we were just a bunch of kids looking for fun. And our stomping ground was a little area in Minneapolis called Uptown.
So Uptown Minneapolis in the 1980s was a good place to people watch, and it was a good place to be seen.
Everybody went there. That was one of the meccas.
Why is the font
if
so
you want to know what was going
Restream
on,
is so funky today.
That was like our internet.
There was just tons of people up there. I mean, I just remember all the
There
lights.
she is. Oh my gosh, I'm dying.
People
Restream
going
is a
to the
hot
Rocky
mess
Horror
today.
Picture Show at midnight
Bella, go
at the
away.
Uptown Theater.
You're a star. We get it.
And then you had the kids, the alternative scene, the punk scene.
Let me put subtitles. Sorry, guys. Subtitles. Here we go. Sorry. Oh, Jesus.
The core group of people were friends. Like, we were all friends in the punk scene. Older punks hated us because we'd go ape at the shows and do all kinds of crazy stuff.
I was like a punk rock kid, I guess. Punk rock just means you aren't like mainstream.
I feel like the most normal reaction to being alive and being a teenager in the 80s was to be a punk rocker. Like, if you weren't, like, what the f*** were you doing?
I mean, I could relate to the punk stuff because for me, I was a poor kid. You feel like that. You feel angry that you keep getting done.
I feel that so much.
I regret to say that we're in the worst economic mess since the Great Depression.
I don't think you can understate the effect of sort of that punk rock, no future
All right, let's go put this
ethos
down,
that was
and
going
I'll
on
make
with
my note
kids
afterwards
who
too
were
for everybody.
punks at the time.
Like
in
I always do,
Minneapolis.
I have
What that
sources
made you
for these
feel.
people. This group
To
too, I have
reverse this
articles and
terrible
stuff on them
cycle
from
of
back in the
despair,
day.
we should return to the basic values that helped build this nation.
Back then, it was like if you're a punk, it was okay to kick your ass.
Hennepin Avenue had that like car after car traffic until like 1 a.m. So it was a place to go to see the freaks.
For people to walk by and look at you and go, oh, you freak. And for you to be like, yeah, I'm a freak. What? You. Excuse me.
City officials have received a few complaints about punk rockers, mostly that the kids loiter at the Uptown McDonald's. A beat officer was added there a month and a half ago.
You know, the cops were walking up and down the street. They knew all of us. They knew where we lived. They knew who was supposed to be there, who wasn't supposed to be there. Yeah, the businesses all hated us. They all hated us. So
Gave the description.
So the problem, or perceived problem, of punk rockers will no doubt continue to persist while merchants and passers-by keep a nervous and watchful eye on them.
Well, do you know, they have to be regretting some of this when I think like how they used to chase us off the streets. Like my friends built, like I grew up like with skateboarders and all that. Like I was a Gen X kid, obviously, and like we had the skateboard ramps. My friend actually, his dad let him build a skateboard ramp in his backyard. But they would chase us from like skateboarding and just being kids outside. And now they're like, these kids don't want to play outside. And you guys were constantly chasing our asses from everything, like having any little bit of fun or doing things outside. And now you're like, these kids don't want to play outside. They don't want to do this. They don't want to do that. Well, you were chasing our asses every time we were trying to have just a little bit of fun, or you're loitering, or you're doing this. Maybe you should have left us alone and let us
They'd
do a
get
little bit of
pissed
stuff.
off at us if we'd be on top of the library.
Scary
a lot
kids.
Of the kids would be skateboarding. We'd be hanging out, smoking cigarettes, and they didn't want us to congregate. And they would harass us.
And then where would you go?
Under the bridge. Under the bridge.
Like we couldn't go to bars, right? So we would get malt liquor a lot of times, just go down there and drink
Colt 45,
because that way
baby.
the cops wouldn't see you on the street. And it was just a social space for young people.
That's where we all grew up and learned a lot about everything, about being punk, about being a kid, about communicating with each other, the brotherhood, the teenage family or whatever was huge.
I love my friends more than I love my family. I mean, I love my family, but my friends make me a lot happier.
Chew you good. Extra.
I don't know. All of a sudden, I met all these people that were like, come on, let's do this. Let's get crazy.
We all became a clique and we started talking about like being skinheads.
It was a continuum, so it was just hanging out. It was more of the punk scene, and it was punk shows, and it was just the skateboarding in the neighborhood. It was just the guys in the neighborhood, basically. And so the skinhead thing, I don't remember like when that started.
In America, a lot of people that were basically bald punk rockers were considered skinheads, which wasn't exactly like skinhead culture in England.
Skinheads were a militant working class subculture. They were anti-authority.
This part here is really important because this explains the difference between what most people perceived in the early 80s and 90s, the delineation between Nazi skinheads and what we come to know as like anti-fascist or like the skinheads that these people are going to be, the anti-fascist skinheads, because there is a very, very big difference. And the media is going to sensationalize a lot of that, like the Geraldo Riveras of their time. And that is what our parents would come to know in the Gen X times, are just those skinheads. So this is a very important piece of this documentary.
Authoritarian, sometimes violent, and their look was sharp and clean.
Back then, it was pictures, right? You'd see pictures, and then you heard about like the skinhead book.
Little Tim got this book by this guy, Nick Knight. And it was about the British skinhead subculture. And so we started looking at that book. We're studying, we're like, what is our role in this cultural continuum? Like, do we have a place in it?
We learned a lot about skinhead culture. We learned there was a division between anti-racist skinheads and Nazi skinheads.
So I was reading about skinhead culture in Britain and learned about different struggles against racism. And in Britain, the fighting against the fascists.
We called the Nazis boneheads. You know, we didn't see them as real skinheads. You couldn't be a true skinhead and be a racist.
What's really important is the roots of skinheads aren't about racism. They're actually about two racial groups coming together for a mutual passion of style and music.
The book talked about like the birth of ska.
This is ska.
Ska is the original skinhead music.
Well, ska's, for people who don't know, is basically what reggae came from.
Ska had come from Jamaica on a wave of immigration. And with the Caribbean music came the culture.
And we learned that it was Black Jamaican immigrants bringing their style when they migrated to England. And the working class white kids in England and the black kids mixing their fashion tastes together. And that was the birth of the original skinhead movement. Which for me was important because of the biracial roots of the movement. Because I felt like I had a place in it.
We sort of associated with that because in our own little way, we were a mix. You know, we were kids from the north side and the south side and kids that were also black and native and Asian. And were interested in something that was rebellious and against the status quo, but also had a kind of life and a culture.
My other friends that weren't skinheads were really upset about me shaving my head, that it was like I was joining a cult or, a gang or something.
The skinhead thing was a whole different thing. It's like, instead of look at that freak, they're like, oh, look at that guy. He looks like he could hurt me.
You would see one and you're like, nah, I'm not f***ing with that dude. He looks like he's ready to go.
What appealed to me about skinhead was it was working class. I'm like, cool, I'm working class. There's my mom. She's at a waitress scene right there.
The skinhead working class look included bomber jackets, Fred Perry's, braces, and the most iconic and expensive piece of gear, Doc Marten boots.
If you wanted to get a pair of DMs back then, you had to order them from Shelley Shoes, which meant you had to get an international money order.
And then you had to figure out the size difference because it's not the same.
3-4 months later, you got a package. You had a pair of 14-hole cherry reds.
I found that part endearing. I don't know if anybody, again, you remember back when we did have to get money orders, and I do remember buying European shoes and figuring out the sizes. And again, I didn't have a checking account or anything like that, and my dad lost a lot of his jobs and stuff because of the excuse me, coal mines and stuff. And I always worked, or I always had a job, whether it was babysitting, cutting grass, and then when I could walk uptown, we called it uptown when you could walk uptown, and I could be a cashier and stuff. Like I always had to work, and I would order out of the magazines and stuff, and I had European catalogs too, and you had to figure out that size. And my friend and I, we actually went to the mall so that they would help us figure out how to translate the size to European sizes. So that part I actually chuckled at. That was very funny. Very funny.
I mean, you look good, you know.
You know, skinheads wore suspenders, but we didn't want the thick lumberjack suspenders. The cool ones were the thin ones, right? Just a little bit wider than like fat shoelaces. And so Huey found some like tuxedo shop, you know, where people go to buy their wedding gear, and he found those thin suspenders. And so then we all got our thin suspenders, and then it was like, we had it. We had the look.
They really went all out.
Like, we look cool. We look like we're in a band or something, but we're not. And then I started asking myself questions like, are we a gang? I was like, we don't look like disciples. We don't look like vice lords, but we're a family. We're a clique. What are the similarities between what we're doing and what is already out here?
And it was just like a natural progression of like, hey, we should start a crew.
The nature of all youth, you know, they want to belong. But more than wanting to belong, they want to belong to something that blows people's minds.
This game, you're not ready for.
We love the Warriors. We love the movie The Wanderers.
What are you talking about, man? Nobody's tougher than the Baldies.
We'd be sitting in little Tim's basement and watching. He had a video player, right? And so we were watching The Wanderers, and the Baldies was Shaved Head Gang there, right?
Beat it. Nobody with the Baldies.
We heard about a Minneapolis street gang from back in the 60s, also called the Baldies. They were known for violently kicking their enemies.
And so we just took that name and part of the culture and we made it our own.
We didn't really have a lineage per se, but there was a 45 that a lot of us had called the Baldy Stomp, and we put it on every once in a while. I got a kick out of that.
I think in the beginning, without the music, it wasn't anything.
Just driving down the street, through the city streets, and that music playing and just feeling like, you know, together, we're something.
But I remember that when I did start hanging out with the Baldies, like all the music was just right on time and just dynamite. To have people that right away knew exactly what I was talking about and might know more about those bands or those artists was really like cool. And that was also a big way that we got our politics.
The politics, it's like you don't realize it. You know, like you're singing along, you're listening to the music, and you don't really
So true.
think, even to this day, sometimes I listen to the lyrics and I'm like, God, that was so insightful. It's all about unity and family and, you know, working class and being proud about that kind of stuff. And that really pulled me in.
So in a lot of ways, the politicization of our scene came through bands' lyrics.
This was working class music.
God, I miss my Doc Martens. I should get another pair.
Yeah, Oi is rock and roll. It's, well, what they call Oi now
Just
is like
somebody
street
mentioned
punk.
Oi.
It's like
Maybe it was Steph.
sub-genres in a sub-genre, you know?
And most of the lyrics are about people that are, you know, at the bottom of society, underdogs, people that are poor and in conflicts with the cops.
There's something that speaks to what being a working class kid is about, you know, and that's all the good and bad, I guess, that goes along with that.
There's so many great bands.
I could never get in a mosh pit again. It would break my brittle old lady bones.
The Oppressed.
Crumble.
Stiff Little Fingers.
Agnostic Front.
The Exploited.
And Suffocate too.
Oi Polloi.
Nazi rallies came for a town, burning fascists came from all around. Clean the scum completely off the streets, so the fascists can and will be beat.
It was the music that helped us understand these things more clearly. It was the voice of the artist and the message in the music that helped us connect the dots and go, that's that thing I've been feeling. They're talking about it in this song.
From the music we listened to, the lyrics, the camaraderie we had at the shows.
I forgot. I put that book down there too. I have to put it over in the Patreon live too. That's Mark Bray. He wrote a book on the history of the anti-fascist movement in the U.S. It's really, really good. If you want to check that out as well. I forgot to mention that. I put that in the chat there.
And for 5 years, that was the center of my life.
Here we go. The sensationalism of it all.
As you know, if you watch us with any
And where the
regularity,
misconceptions come for
already have
parents.
plenty to worry about. Now there's something different for parents to fear.
Right around that time was when all the information started coming out about Nazi skinheads in the media.
My guests today call themselves skinhead.
They are truly hate-filled. They are self-described racists, white supremacists, Nazi lovers.
Most of the people in the country that got familiar with what a skinhead was, got familiar with it through the media narrative, and they thought they were all Nazis. And here we are, we're like, we're not Nazis.
But there's 11 different factions of skins. You have scooter skins, you have gay skins, communist skins, socialist skins. There's no real one group that you can pin down and say, well, this is skinhead.
First of all, I like to say I'm a Jewish skinhead. Second of all, I like to know why you have only white power up there, and why don't you have non-racist skinheads up there?
Show's not about show's about racism.
I just heard what you said. You just said I don't sit with monkeys. You think because she's black, because I'm black, we're monkeys? Is that?
It's a proven fact.
That's a proven fact.
They promoted it. It's just so crazy.
It didn't pay. Like, that wasn't going to sell. That wasn't going to push their ratings if they also platformed non-racist skinheads. So the media just pushed. And, you know, maybe things would have been a little different. You know, hindsight's 20/20. But if they had platformed the opposing viewpoints as well on these talk shows, you know, it a different story, you know. Who knows? But, you know, that would have been pretty great if they had done that as well. But we know how that goes with ratings, and if it bleeds, it leads. So
Crazy. They denounce it, but it's kind of like one of those tabloid magazines. You know?
The thing I want to get off my mind is
I want to talk about this monkey stuff.
These skinheads.
That's what news media in this country really was when it came to that stuff. It
Still
just
is.
sensationalized it.
Yep.
Insurance that's a bit more U-shaped. You insured.
Maybe someday I'll pay for you too.
Maltesers. It's lighter together.
I think it's important that we get a sense of what the young skinheads are really about.
Sit down.
The national news media has been paying a lot of attention to the increased activity of the Nazi Party. The state of Minnesota has never been mentioned in those reports, but a substantial number of community leaders here have voiced varying degrees of concern about the presence of organized racist elements in our area.
All of a sudden, someone had spray painted swastikas everywhere. And I was just like super pissed off. This is the 80s. Who's spray painting swastikas?
And when the Nazis came, we all looked at each other. We're like, no, we're not going to stand for this.
At First Avenue, there was a big show. It was the Cro-Mags, which was a hardcore band from New York City.
When you had specifically bands like the Cro-Mags, there was always going to be a big skinhead turnout at those concerts. Most skinheads wouldn't miss those shows.
I believe it was at the Cro-Mag show where there'd be these guys and everyone's like, oh, they're racist, they're white supremacists. And I remember seeing Paul Hollis and thinking that dude is scary.
Paul Hollis was pretty much a skinhead. I don't think anybody really knew much about like his politics or something. He was just a guy that was always around. And he was kind of a jerk, but so were a lot of other people.
Story goes is he just went to LA, met some Nazis out there, and came back with a different ideology.
And in our scene, Paul starts a group of kids, and they're called the White Knights. And they're his neo-Nazi skinhead crew.
And the Baldies and the White Knights were both there. And I remember that Paul Hollis had thrown down one of the Baldies in the pit, a little guy. And I remember Patty sticking his finger in Paul Hollis's eye and saying, "You're done, you're done."
The memories are kind of hazy, but I remember a huge fight.
And that was kind of the line being drawn that the Nazis weren't going to be tolerated anymore.
We had a purpose now, being true to the roots of skinhead, which was in turn being true to our friends who were from many different walks of life.
I am WOOO, and I'm still here again.
It was, I think, a natural progression of like, if you're a skinhead and you don't want a cancer in the scene, then you gotta get rid of them.
Yep. They still have a problem
Of
in
all the
scene.
people, Jay had a kind of vision for what the Baldies could be, and he had a method that I think was really smart and kind of ahead of its time. If we saw a White Knight walk through Uptown, he'd go over to him and confront him and ask him, "Are you a White Knight?" And if he said yes, then Jay would say, "Okay, next time we see you, if you're still a White Knight, you're gonna get your ass beat."
It's really simple, dude. Either you're white power or you're not, and that's what we used to say to them.
It laid down the law about what was acceptable, but it also gave them a chance to think about their choices. And I think a lot of those cats hadn't necessarily thought through their choice.
Friday and Saturday nights, he was having keg parties. Paul Hollis was at his home in a big swastika flag in the window. But, it was punk rock. I didn't really think of anything. And so we'd party there and stuff and kick it, and they'd be talking some racist shit, and I was just like, oh, it's not really my thing, But I, again, was like, these guys are giving me beer. I'm 16 years old. I'm hanging out. And I remember being confronted by a couple of the Baldies.
We found out where they were, and we made it a priority. We stopped what we were doing, and we found them. They were all meek and shy. And I remember looking at them like, you guys are supposed to be racial terrorists, tough guys. Why are you all scared right now?
They said, if you come here again, you're getting kicked. And I looked at the dudes I was with, and these guys are wearing army boots and big wide suspenders. And these dudes are looking fly with creepers on, and some of them are dressed real traditional. I was like, man,
it
these guys
worked.
look
He
more
was
like what I'm with, so
I'm out of
I
here.
think that was probably my last night hanging out with those dudes.
We let them go. We left. We went to Rocky Rococo Pizza. And eventually Brandon walked up there and sat down with us. He's like, what's it gonna take for me to hang out with you guys, basically? We're like, well, you can't be white power. You can't hang out with them no more. He was like, I don't like those guys anyway. I don't wanna be like them. Turns out Brandon was just looking for some kids to hang out with, which is a lot of what the dynamic is. It's the young people looking for a sense of belonging, right?
Yep, 100%.
We were giving these kids a chance to do the right thing.
Buongiorno, Brett. Wow, is there a letter? Must be for someone special. Huh. What a perfetto gift. DeLonghi. It's not just perfect. It's perfetto.
Some did, others didn't.
The next time we saw them, we fought. And then we fought and we fought. We'd fight at shows, we'd fight on the streets.
I mean, when it came down to it, like, I remember being very scared the first time I fought. But I always felt like, well, what else are we gonna do?
America's history tells us that that's sometimes what needs to happen with Nazis. We know that was a necessity. People are willing to do horrible things to other people.
Most of us that were poor grew up in violence. So violence wasn't something that we shied away. It was like, oh, we're scared of that. We're like, okay, well, we're in a society where racist people do shit to our family members all the time. So now we can take it out on you guys and feel totally justified by it.
Tommy Tatum's voice, is that you? I can't tell who's who.
Be a skinhead. But in where we were then,
now it's so silly on
it was
YouTube.
a big part
The
of
apps.
it, actually.
Is that you, Kyle?
According to the KlanWatch project of
I
the
have to go
Southern
look on
Poverty Law
YouTube at the
Center,
profile pic. I hate
skinheads
this now that
hold
YouTube
racial
does the
hatred
apps.
as their only ideology, and violence as their sole tactic.
I think
For
it's
them,
you,
violence
Kyle. I
is not a means to an end,
can't figure out.
but an end in itself.
You're really
These two
incognito.
young men are skinheads who were convicted of vandalizing
stupid
and
now. I hate
defiling
the app
kitchen
thing.
of a Jewish dormitory at McAllister College in St. Paul. Among other things, they defecated in a piece of kitchen cookware.
You know, they made such a big deal about it, you know, it's like, you know, can't you take a joke or whatever, you know? Bunch of crybabies. Yeah, uppity Jews, you know, just looking for something more to bitch about. Who do I hate the most? Probably right now, it'd probably be the Jews. Authority. Authority, yeah, the system.
We really felt like the white power skinheads were metalheads who had
I thought it was
absolutely
you,
no
Tommy.
style.
Okay. I was like,
And
that looks familiar.
The only way for them to
Nice
make
to
themselves
see you,
cool
Tommy.
was
Thank
to
you for
shave their
stopping
heads
by.
and become Nazis.
Kyle.
Minnesota had the second biggest white power band in the world. Was here, Bound for Glory.
If
These
you
bands are
ever
terrible.
heard that stuff, it's really dumb. Like, it's horrible. It's really bad music.
We disrupted some of their shows. You know, we tried to sabotage and undermine them. But they got really big. They were big in Europe. They were big all over the world. You know, they became like a linchpin of the white power music movement. Now we're getting into daily violence and the necessity to...
Keep in mind, too, as we're watching this, these are teenagers taking it to these Nazi skinheads. Like, these are like 15, 16, 17-year-olds that are organizing and doing this, something about it in their community. Like, you may not agree with some of their methods and what they're doing, but like, they're taking it to like these Nazi skinheads and stuff in their community. Like, you know, you may not agree with their aggressive tactics, but they're teenagers and they're doing something about it.
recruit. Because now recruitment and getting a bigger crew is a matter of survival.
The bigger the Baldies got, the more we attracted people from a lot of different backgrounds. I mean, they gravitated towards us because we did some kind of righteous shit, you know?
By the time I'm like 18, so many people want to be rock stars, but that I wanted to be a Baldy. I don't want to be in a scene that even allows Nazis to be in the room.
The more of us there was together, the more fun it was to hang out. Remember, we're teenagers, so we like the attention we get when there's like 7 or 8 of us.
You would show up to like a hardcore show of 10, 15, 20 of your buddies, all dressed to the nines, you know, thin braces, shaved head, polished boots. I mean, you look like you meant business.
Part of the thing about being a skinhead, 1/10 of 1% is in a fight or in something, but 99% of the time, at the time, you are doing what most people are doing. You're going to parties, you're hanging out with your friends. We were there to have a good time and relax and party.
Being young, it was just like, I was really kind of addicted to chaos. It was just kind of like, your way of unwinding. And then it was like you kind of took that out into the night, and then, you know, you tried to outdo what you did the night before. I mean, yeah, we really took it to the edge a lot of the time.
I think we bullied some people because we felt like we were righteous and they were wrong.
You know, some idiot at a keg saying the N-word and thinking he was safe, you know, because, oh, there's mostly white people here, you know, and then he'd get beat down.
Oh my gosh. I haven't streamed in so long. I just realized I'm streaming on my other channel that I rarely stream from, the Into the Stewniverse. I apologize for everybody who subscribes to 6 Degrees of Stew. That my regular channel I stream from all the time. I didn't realize when I connected to Restream today. I was looking for my live stream and I was like, why is it not showing up on 6 Degrees of Stew? I am over on my Into the Stewniverse, live streaming there where it's all stewing on content. I just connected today. Listen, it's been a long 2 weeks, everything that happened. I'm doing my best. It's my first day back. I apologize. I will upload after it's all done, and I will put this live stream over here, on 6 Degrees of Stew where it's supposed to be, but it's all right on Patreon and Twitch. Okay. Anyways, I'm back. All right, let's play. I was like, where is that live
felt like we
stream
were
at?
bullies, but we most certainly were.
No wonder I kept having so many
but
errors.
I feel like what we were doing was just having a great time. You know, it's not like we beat anybody up at parties often.
And the cops hated us. The bouncers at First Avenue hated us because if they try to throw one of us out, if they get swarmed, oh crap, we're outnumbered.
Anytime there's a group of young guys who are trying to assert their stance, there's a danger it could come off as just bullying or something. And I'm sure we probably weren't always the most articulate and probably sometimes got frustrated and short with people that didn't understand right away.
There were people who said to us something we really did not like to hear. And that was, if you guys are going to attack people just for their political beliefs, you're just like them.
That mob mentality, you know, at some point it starts to fester on itself, you know, because then you got egos and people being proud, and you know, so there was times where it was crazy.
Sometimes felt like, okay, boys, we're not in the Warriors movie. I mean, there was always real behind everything, but it got a little dicey sometimes where you're like, okay, come on. Francis Ford Coppola is not filming you right now. The end.
The girls are like, come on, guys. Calm down. They're going to talk about an important point here. And whenever I discuss the Patreon at the end here, whenever, and again, we have to put this into perspective when this is happening, right? This is the early 80s and 90s. These are, and you have to remember the contextual period that we're in. These are young males. And, you know, the feminist movement and stuff, they were doing the anti-racist stuff. And, you know, they had a mixture of, you know, they had blacks and Asians and natives and everything and females in the group. But at this time period, they were still not doing a lot of the feminist, movements and inclusion. There wasn't a lot of inclusion of LGBTQIA plus movements. That was all to come as the group will move from the Baldies and inclusion when they create the ARA, that group starts to move. And then as the anti-fascist movement becomes what we know it today. So it's an evolution of the process, just as we have in society today, you know, from the 80s, 90s, and how I've progressed even as myself as a Gen Xer. So that's what they're going to talk about and contextualize of how this movement was. Everything's
Some of the
not
gals
always
that hung out with us that are the Baldies, they weren't having it. The sexualizing women was just as valid as fighting racism. If you're gonna be about it, be about it.
They were Antifa.
And I think a lot lot of the guys.
This is Antifa. This is the beginning of Antifa, actually. The Baldies are the beginning. This is what we're doing here, Kyle. Yep. The Baldies are. They're the precursor. This is the early United States movement.
But nobody jumped in the line of fire to be like, this is what we believe. It was more us women calling them out. It wasn't, that wasn't on their checklist of priorities for sure.
You can't say you're about this issue without bringing this one with you. You can't say you're anti-racist or you're about something and then just like shit on women. You can't do it.
There was a lot of feminist consciousness that really influenced our behavior. Thinking about the Baldies that were women, young women at the time, you know, they were really critical of our patriarchy, our sexism.
Some of the strongest women, you know, I met were here, kind of keeping the guys in check, not just standing there in the background.
And I'm just going to say, you know, we weren't effectively integrating feminism or battling homophobia at the time, and those were real issues.
The classism, like, yeah, we're all one class. Oh yeah, we're all one race. And it's like, oh yeah, women are people too. Oh yeah, queer rights are human rights. It was like an evolution. You know, we weren't all born smart. You know, I have to remind myself that, like, every day, is that we weren't all born gifted, brilliant, socially aware people, and definitely not me. And I remember, like, driving past and telling some guys from Minneapolis, like, oh yeah, this is the spot where we were throwing eggs at the drag queens. And they would just turn around and looked at us like in horror, like, what? You did what? Like, that's totally effed up. Like, that's not what you do. Like, why would you do that? I'm like, oh, I don't know. I really just wanted to egg somebody.
And that was what I was talking about. They were egging queer, like, drag queens, and today they wouldn't do that, but they were young punks back then and not realizing, hey, we shouldn't fucking be doing this. Today, like, anti-fascists aren't going to do that, groups, right? But back then, these 16 and 17-year-old kids who are fighting fascists and Nazis did that at that point, thinking there was nothing wrong with it, telling of the time period. So that's how, like, when we talk about the evolution, and she's speaking of it, saying that was really fucking wrong. Like, we were stupid. And speaking about feminists and, like, how they were trying to work that in. So groups do evolve. And I think it's important that they address that in this documentary.
There were neo-Nazi formations all over the country. There were the Hammerskins down south and the American Front out west. And we felt like we needed to build allegiances.
The things that the Baldies were dealing with was happening all in these other cities at the same time, even though we didn't have, like, the internet to connect us.
We had this, like, little road trip we took to Madison, Milwaukee, and Chicago. And we brought a stack of flyers with us because we wanted to start touching base with people in other cities. And that was actually pretty fruitful. Met a lot of people that were right on board with us and started immediately networking.
We talked about what we would like to see in our city and supporting other cities. And so we'd go and support other cities and clean the Nazis out.
When we started meeting these crews that were facing the same kinds of questions we saw that there was something there that could be bigger. So we put out this call to organize a network.
This idea of having the skinheads come from all the different cities and kind of merge on one city, and then it would be like workshops, all different workshops, and lectures, and a lot of music, a lot of drinking, a lot of, you know, chasing Nazis.
We contacted anti-racist skinheads all over the country and invited them to come to Minnesota. We held a summit in Uptown.
It was Martin Luther King weekend.
And we all crowded up in that conference room at the library. It's like over 100 of us. Yeah, I got up and I was overwhelmed. I almost cried. It was a powerful experience. Being, you know, a 16, 17-year-old kid and looking out at that sea of faces and realizing that we did that.
When we had a march, walk through freezing cold weather, covered up racist graffiti that was around certain neighborhoods.
Then scrawled some graffiti of their own as police kept their distance just down the street. They were mostly young whites at this Martin Luther King birthday march, many of them skinheads or baldies as they're called here.
But I was smoking cigarettes, I was going to shows, I was hanging out all night, I was drinking under a bridge, I was carrying signs and screaming at people, and like, it was perfect.
When it comes to a day on the boat, it pays to be prepared, starting with UE Watercraft Insurance and making sure you pack the brag mat to properly measure that 3-metre flatty. Get insurance that's a bit more U-shaped. UE, you insured.
Mum and dad and potty training a toddler and begging and pleading and promising rewards and success.
I don't miss those days.
Kinda.
The kid's playing in his room. I'll take that reward now.
M&M's. It's more fun together.
Racist groups have organized and, they have a complete network now, It's time for us to do something about it, too.
And so we had this idea of creating a federation of all of these different groups that were against the fascists, students and kids that were influenced by hip hop and graffiti.
And it evolved from that early Baldies where we were disenfranchised kids, street kids. It evolved into this machine, this anti-racist action.
Anti-Racist Action, or ARA, was an organization we started.
It was always had a connection with anti-racist skinhead culture, but it became less anchored to that.
We knew that there was so much that needed to be addressed, so much going on in the world that's not right.
Then you realize, it's not just these Nazis from St. Paul, it's the system of government and the police system, and there's all these other things that if we're going to really fight fascism, you got to go and fight it all.
Pretty amazing for
They want to
kids,
start
teenagers.
disrupting the establishment. And so I'm all for it. I don't exactly even know what that means right then, but it definitely sounds exciting.
I don't know what
now,
it means, but it's
whenever the Nazis
exciting. I'm
came
in.
into our city, we had a coalition to confront them.
White women, white guilt. These are the lovers of free speech. We came here not wanting trouble or violence.
But violence is all they got. Some threw rocks, others spit at them. They all shouted down the Nazi message.
ARA was becoming a real force of activism. Meanwhile, the Baldies were still playing street games with the Nazis.
And by that time, we had got a name for ourselves, and so the white supremacists were onto us. They would want to come through and test us. One particular time, they came through and they spray painted death to race mixers on my mom's house. My stepdad, who's black, opens the door. I'm coming down the steps, and somebody fires 2 shots that lodged in the ceiling, and they ran off. And so that was pretty close to home, man. That's when it really escalated. At that time, I was probably 17. I started carrying a gun every day.
Jesus.
We started to realize the consequences of the violence. The consequences of the violence were that we've showed them that they're not safe. They're willing to retaliate. Now we're not safe. No one's safe.
The only safety was in numbers. We continued to travel to meet people interested in ARA and the Baldies.
Kieran was really key in the networking. Kieran went on a tour as a member and representative of ARA, and a couple guys from the Baldies went with him, and they wound up establishing the first person-to-person contact with skinheads out in Portland.
The result of that was a Portland chapter of the ARA starting up.
And ultimately, we got permission to form a crew and call it the Baldies, under the Baldies umbrella in Portland, Oregon.
Portland's a unique place. In the Northwest, it was originally created as a whites-only state, so it's a very white state.
The Oregon State Constitution actually forbade non-whites from settling in Portland for years.
It sure did.
In the early 90s, there was like 300 Nazi skinheads and multiple white power gangs in Portland.
In the 80s specifically, we had war, we had East Side White Pride, which were the guys that killed Mulgeta Sarah, which is really what set off our movement.
Dead is 27-year-old Mulgeta Sarah.
After Mulgeta Sarah got murdered, we all started pushing back, and we pushed back really hard.
December 31st, 1992, Portland, Oregon, there was a massive ice storm. The entire city was covered in black ice.
Making the freeways and the streets a skating rink.
We just got home from a party, and these Nazis are calling the house saying they're going to shoot us, they're going to do all this, and we're like, cool, we got guns too, or we could just meet and fight.
We headed out, and we went to the spot where we were supposed to meet them, and they rolled up. It gets a little blurry right then. There's a lot of yelling and screaming. Car window rolled down, and the guy pointed a gun at us. I had a rifle that I owned legally, but I had brought it with me while drunk to this confrontation for reasons I can't justify. I mean, I thought maybe we'll have to scare them away, whatever. I started firing some shots into the air. I fired a few shots in their general direction. The detective said, it's really a shame what happened to that kid. And I was like, well, what happened to him? And he said, well, he died. And I just started crying, you know.
It's lighter together.
It's generating.
AI. Tim, with Monday Sidekick, AI is easy. Just say what you need and it's done.
Like I have spare time.
Monday.com is a whole different animal.
Holy yeah, I see that.
Marketing, ops, HR.
Let me pause real quick. Over in Patreon, Steph says, check out the book, Hate on Trial About Sarah's Murder. It bankrupted war. Spick was able to shut war down. So I will get that book link for everybody. And I know Tom Metzger was involved in all of that too. Yeah, it's that's why I put the link for the Wikipedia.
I never
I'll
wanted
get that book link
to take
for
someone's
everybody.
life.
And through sheer coincidence, the victim was from the Minnesota Nazi scene.
So I didn't know who it was. Eric Banks was the lead singer of neo-Nazi band from the Twin Cities, Bound for Glory. I turned myself in and I made a complete confession. You know, I thought I had a pretty good self-defense case. On the other hand, we're an anti-racist gang going to meet a racist gang, and we brought guns with us and we had a gunfight, and that doesn't sound like a very good self-defense case. I had 5 years prison and then consecutively 5 years post-prison supervision. So
I didn't think it was going to be a thing that like suddenly there's kids in Portland. This other stuff, this fighting and this annoyance.
Hi, Sigmund Freud.
I just didn't
How are
think that
you?
the Nazis were tough enough. I didn't think they had the guts, right? I thought this was going to be over quick and we could talk about where to get the next pair of Doc Martens.
And I was really strangely optimistic that things were going to change and that this was kind of going to be the end of like this racism. I mean, sadly it's not true at all.
So there's these through lines that are part of white supremacist organizing and militancy that never disappear. They just change the way they look because it's part of their strategy.
Yep.
I think politically speaking, the Nazis were probably smarter than we were. They decided we're too visual, everybody can see us who we are, so let's start to blend in, let's start to figure out how to use computers to be a recruitment tool.
And so what you see today is you see the results of their appeal to a more mainstream white audience.
Like, obviously, that politic is now coming in a different form. So it's not coming through these sort of like youth subcultures anymore, but coming through this political apparatus that Trump has been associated with.
You're not really surprised by the depth of the racism in this country and how like white supremacy is always protected. I mean, America is inherently racist. You know, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's just if you grow up here and you're not brown, then you benefit from white supremacy. Whether you like it or not, that's just the way it is.
So like there's this adage that a lot of us black kids heard from our elders when we were young, and it is, you can be friends with those white kids, but one day they're gonna be white on you. And when you're a kid, you don't wanna hear that because there's all this innocence around your social interactions and relationships. So when something bad happens, you're still like, well, okay, that was a bad incident. But because you have white friends that you're cool with, you don't go, all white people are or white supremacy is dominant. You still don't necessarily put that frame on it because you're a kid and you're having fun and you're enjoying life. You're not coming up against the structural elements that are systemic. I'm still seeing the things I saw when I was a kid. I just see them with more clarity and more consistency and more awareness.
In the Reagan years, it was punk rock that spoke
I want
to
to
me
find
because
this
the
TED
lyrics in
Talk
the
of
punk
his.
rock
I have to
songs
look it up. I forgot. I keep
spoke
forgetting.
to the
Better make a note
hypocrisy
to myself.
of society and the institutions that I felt in
I'm
my body
old.
when I was trying to fit in and not allowed to fit in. And ever since then, I've been using MCing, spoken word, and poetry to engage my activism around the consciousness around those questions that I first started to ask as a young person.
The veil is lifted, but you saw through it because you are gifted. You always knew it.
Being in hip hop allowed me to establish myself not only as an artist, but as an activist and an educator. And that gave me opportunities to mentor, and that's how I met Micah Fletcher.
This is Micah.
And he was born to the storm of abnormal, a horrible excuse for a nuisance, but quite adorable.
He's young, he's a skinhead, and he's dealt with white supremacists.
I was involved in an incident on a train where this bonehead was picking on these two little black girls, right? I intervened. Long story short, I got stabbed in the throat. And I got politically engaged from that.
The FBI
Jesus,
looking into
I
whether
forgot about
hate
that.
crime charges will be filed against an alleged white supremacist.
With the help of Xero accounting software, I've got the right information at my fingertips. So I can take my business anywhere. And I know where I'm heading next! Search Xero with an X!
Fortnite Chapter 7 is a vibe. I think there's something unique about this chapter that we haven't seen in Fortnite in a
Stabbed
Through
in
that,
the fucking neck.
I'd already
Man.
been to some punk shows, and I knew that there were these politically engaged dudes that dressed real well and beat the out of the same kind of people that I didn't like now. And now I had like beef. You see what I'm saying? It's different now, because now it's personal. It's on my body. I have to wake up and look at it every morning.
Whew.
Skinhead revolt. Someone. Skinheads revolt.
The fact that we were a bunch of kids that were kind of faced with something and we didn't really know what to do about it, and we just did the right thing, you know, and we never backed down. There was just a purity about it because Nobody told us what to do, and that was the beautiful thing. And that's like what we took from punk.
Like, it's a special group. Like, the Baldies are something special. And getting together with them to just kind of talk about what we started.
White supremacy is a big part of American history. You know, a group of kids from South Minneapolis isn't going to win that battle, you know, but we were there for each other.
You know, you start getting older and you start getting kids and you get jobs, and the Baldies themselves, they just went everywhere. You know, I mean, some of them became business owners, and some of them became employees, and some of them became drug dealers, and some of them died.
In a lot of ways, a lot of us have grown up, and like, I was a paramedic, you know, my partner, he's a social worker.
And I've also been involved in labor unions for the last, you know, couple decades. So that's where a lot of my organizing is now.
And I've been able to sponsor some men who are white supremacists, and then also connect them with another Baldy who runs a laser tattoo removal. We've been able to get some of their white supremacist tattoos removed, and that's been pretty amazing.
That's pretty cool.
We have to find new ways to fight. I don't think beating everyone up is going to solve it. I mean, we have to educate people. I'd like to beat everyone up, but it doesn't.
We're not going out fighting tonight, Lorraine. I'll just tell you that right now.
It doesn't stop it. I mean, it's not going to stop it.
It doesn't.
So it is
Unfortunately, you gotta
educating
educate. Can't remember.
I mean, because I never grew my hair
Oh,
out.
here we go. Yeah,
I
they
never
do show
stopped
some
liking
stuff.
the music. I never stopped dressing the same way. I just stopped going to shows and beating people up or getting my ass kicked.
I wouldn't want anybody to have to go through any of that stuff, because I think there's a lot of people who got like PTSD from that. Just like, if you talk to someone who is not from the city and you start telling them stuff, they think you're like a psycho killer. And you're like, well, that was the 80s.
That was the 80s. I love it.
You know what? I'm not really much of a worker. I'm from working class, but keep it. You know, I just want to have fun. I still
I'm
do
not
at
much of a
55,
worker.
and I'm doing okay. Got a lovely wife for 15 years and a house in New York City, you know. Things are good.
So sometimes punk rock works.
Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't.
Let me see if I can get that segment for it. I gotta go over to Twitch here real quick, and I'll snag and see what that is. I love that documentary. I think it does a really good job explaining everything. Let me go over to Twitch real quick and see here. I love that documentary. I think it does a really good job explaining the go down here. Sigmund Freud, I mean. Okay. While that's loading, I'm going to share. My internet is so, well, my YouTube is very slow today, I should say, rather. Not my computer. I don't know why YouTube is running like a snail. It's been acting up a lot lately. I cannot believe I was streaming on my other channel instead of this one. Absolutely silly today. Oh. Hold on one second. Let me. Why I pull up my Patreon. We can listen to that. There we go. I got it. Not very long either. There we go.
Swastikas and clan robes, sexist, racist, homophobes, Aryan nations and hammer skins. You can wear my nuts on your Nazi chins.
True.
I love a man in uniform. And just what exactly are the great historical accomplishments of your race that make you proud to be white? Capitalism, slavery, genocide, sitcoms. This is your fucking white history, my friend. So why don't we start making a history worth being proud of and start fighting the real fucking enemy? Swastikas and clan robes, sexist, racist, homophobes. This one's for the master race. My brown power ass in your white power face. Kill them all and let a Norse god sort them out.
Excellent. Thank you, Sigmund Freud. That was a good one. I love that. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. All right. I was going to pull this up real quick. Share screen. Okay. And then I'm going to get motivated to finish decorating for Christmas. Okay, this was the Patreon thing. It's one of my paid ones. This is the thing I did on Jim Stewartson. And this was me looking at, this is why I came across that brain power ass. I love that. Yeah, it's so good. So good. He had been doing tons of shit on anti-fascist and like things he believed. But when he went out and he was doing, you just noticed my shirt. Hold on. I'll make myself bigger 1 second. Hold on. Let me take this off the screen. Yeah, I'm in the Christmas spirit, Mur. Hold on. Let me stop sharing the screen. I am in the fucking Christmas spirit. How do I get this off of here? Remove. Santa kitties. 2 of them. One's flying. They're doing the, what's that? The Titanic? I have so much Christmas ridiculous merch. I'm going to be decorating for Christmas, so I got to get in the mood. Okay. Let me get this back up here. I'm ridiculous. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Why is it not fucking sharing? Are you messing with me? Replace screen sharing. This. Share. Do I have to? Ah, there it is. Okay. It is 100% polyester. It is. We got them for my friend's daughter was having a ugly Christmas sweatshirt contest 2 years ago for a birthday party. It's like Amazon. Like I have to have I have a long sleeve shirt underneath of it. It's like that silky kind of sweatshirt material. It's not warm at all. Like it's terrible. Would not recommend like buying it for any other purpose than being ridiculous. No other purpose. Okay. So Jim was this is from when he went to go challenge, was it Joe Flynn he was challenging or Mike Flynn Jr., one of them anyways. This is from Blue and On. So I put this at the top.
Antifa has arrived in Santa Barbara.
Could you hear that? He's so stupid. I can't take him. He's so stupid. But anyway, so it goes through Jim being a self-proclaimed anti-fascist and, it being in his Twitter bio. But the important part, because we're discussing anti-fascist, isn't like Jim having a complicated relationship with anti-fascist and QAnon. And I'm going to go down to the history here. And if you want to read this, let me know, like, if money's tight for you or anything, like, I understand the holidays and stuff. I'll send it to you. I'll figure out a way. I'll copy and paste it or whatever to you because I understand, like, money being tight for people and stuff like that. Okay. The real history. Let's get down through Jim's bullshit. Okay. Oh, I passed up the true history. Bear with me. I haven't been on a live in a long time. Oh, okay. Here we go. Okay, this is what I was talking about. Mark Bray, author of Antifa, the Anti-Fascist Handbook, in a recent interview on Al Jazeera English, said this of Antifa. Antifa is not a specific organization. It is the kind of mode of radical politics in opposition to fascism and the far right. Antifa, of course, is short for anti-fascist or anti-fascism. There are Antifa groups, but Antifa itself is not an overall organization. They are independent, they are separate, in some cases do different things. As we think about terrorism being like Al Qaeda, blowing up buildings and killing people, the greatest form of violence that self described Antifa in the US have engaged in is basically fistfights. Transparent efforts by Trump and his allies to demonize the left wing writ large under the rubric of a term that has generated a kind of negative publicity in the mainstream eye. And so the label of Antifa in the context of other alleged emergencies around immigration, tariffs, around drugs, labeling Antifa as a terrorist organization could conceivably allow the administration to target anyone in the left, anyone who dissents, anyone who protests. The FBI and other law enforcement agencies do not classify Antifa as a formal terrorist organization. It has been described as an ideological movement with some affiliated individuals who occasionally engage in violence. They investigate violent incidents without treating Antifa as a single entity with structure or unified leadership. Former FBI Director Christopher Wray, testifying before a House Committee on Homeland Security hearing on September 17, 2020, said this of Antifa, per an AP News article. It's not a group or an organization. It's a movement or an ideology. And then we go down here. The modern American anti-fascist movement traces its history back to ARA, which we just watched about, anti-racist action formed in the late 1980s, 1990s. And just before the ARA, the Baldies. ARA actively confronted neo-Nazis, Klansmen, and white supremacists, notably touring with punk rock shows to prevent recruitment by hate groups. The group, Rose City Antifa, was formed in 2007 in Portland, Oregon, making it one of the first instances in which the name Antifa was used by activists. They are still active today and one of several chapters within Torch Network. From the Torch Network website, chapters are autonomous organizing bodies that agree to 5 points of the Torch Network. They may call themselves whatever they want and can organize the best way they see fit. We work together to confront fascism and oppression. And basically, that's it. Like when you hear all this, yeah, exactly, Sigmund Freud, exactly. So when you hear all of these groups and Vaughn, like because her name was brought up, when you hear all these groups talking about them being like this tight knit, organized, and even the documentary we just watched, they're not. Like it's so random and happenstance in the way things occur. Like it's not what they're trying to picture. And I hope just a little piece of what I presented shows you just how loosely based it is and the way things are formed and the way they take action and who they're really fighting. Like Tom Metzger's group and the things that he was involved in and that murder of that black man and everything that they do and the hate that they spread and what anti-fascists are actually pushing back against. And if you're against anti-fascists that are pushing back on these hate groups, I don't know what to tell you. And whose side are you really on? Like, honestly, I really don't understand that. Do you know this TED Talk about getting out of Nazism? I don't know. Let me open that up and see there. Sigmund Freud. Let me open that up and see. Let me see. I might not have seen it. There's a lot I've just been starting to look at. Let me see if I've seen that one. I really missed like the TED Talk boom. So like now it's It's something that I've been seeing a lot more of and looking into now that I started streaming, looking for different things to talk about and things. So if you ever come across some interesting ones, please send them my way. Because I've missed like the big boom of like TED Talks and stuff. So it's something that I've been coming across and looking more into. Yes, they do. Antifa does. And the networks. And I was going to talk about that too. They mentioned it briefly, or I was reading an article, and it was about the One People's Network. Maybe it was an article. And it talks about doxing of Nazis and extremists and stuff. And a lot of people have problems with that. And I've spoken to, because I work with Scott Kelly Ernest. And a lot of the former extremists that I talk to, a lot of times the reason they will contact Scott or the group or his group that I volunteer with, Hands of Air, is because they have been outed. And that is the catalyst that gets them out of extremist groups. So if not for that, they may remain in those groups and hate the life that they're in. And ultimately, it ends up good for them. And they get and the anti-fascist groups that have outed them or doxed them and found out their information, they will turn over all of their extremist materials and and mementos and medals and flags and books and things they have to be burned and destroyed. And I even know one person right now is giving a lot of the stuff that they got turned over to them from law enforcement to a researcher so that they have it to look for it. So that stuff is effective that anti-fascists do. And it helps people get out of extremist groups. It kind of forces their hand, but for good. So, say what you will. And I've heard it from former extremists that it does work. And they're grateful for it. So TED Talks can be horrible. No problems with that. Make them be seen for what they are. My missed that one by Christian. No, I've never seen Christian's talk, that one from his TED Talk. I have seen a lot of Christian stuff. I've read several of his books, but I've never seen that TED Talk. I'm going to bookmark that one. I've never seen that one from Christian. I think he is an excellent speaker when he talks about stuff. I've read several of his books. I actually want to talk to him sometime. I just haven't got a chance. I'm going to start focusing on a lot of different things here, but I haven't seen that one yet, Sigmund. No, I will watch that TED Talk though, since it's Christian. I think he's a great public speaker. I love Life After Hate. I've supported Life After Hate since I started my Twitter account. I was donating monthly. Now I just throw money like quarterly at Life After Hate. I support Life After Hate, Parents for Peace, and the Otter Network. Those are the three groups that I support. And Christian started Life After Hate. He's a really good dude. I like him a lot. But I will watch that one. I've never seen that one. Yeah, some of them, because I've watched some bad TED Talks. I watched one with Jim Stewartson, Stephen Hassan, and Dave Troy, and that one was, but there are some bad ones. Yeah, so I just wanted to touch on a few little things and ease back into being back here, live streaming. Can I put the chat back up on the screen yet, or is it still going to show Wink's dog? Upcoming, I'm going to do the government cheese one and Reagan and everything that they did and how much cheese the government still has and is, the government programs and what they're doing with it and the other things they have hidden away. Going to cover, my husband helped me prepare on an Erber, Germany, but more so France, a concentration camp that was in France and not necessarily the Nazis. Oh my gosh, that's insane. It's still doing it. It's so messed up. A concentration camp that was in France and some scientists there that got away with a lot. Not necessarily the Nazis hunting crazy relics or anything like that. It's a little different aspect. Oh God. I got to go take care of a bot real quick here. Let me block them. Get out of here, bot. 1 second. Ban. Okay, you're gone. And add to block list. So the Anna Arbor will be coming up. That's the thing in France. The North Korean tourism trade. My son put me on a hot. He found some things on that. I'm going to do that. A lot of U.S. and different people are doing tourism over there, and YouTubers pushing that. It's really quite gross. The exploitation going on with that. See that Ann Arbor government cheese, North Korean tourism trade. There was something else. I have another project come that is just in the beginning of talks with a friend of mine. Should be pretty interesting once we work it out and see the details for that. I think you guys will like that. And some other interviews and things coming up. Oh, and if you're paid subscribers, right before my family, we lost our family member, had just started downloading. So on Patreon, for those who get bonus things, I had downloaded. I had just started. It'll be a full length interviews from my say the Satanic Temple episodes that I've done for the podcast. It'll be the full interviews from Kitty Stryker. And I have a lot more of me and David talking. Those will be all for behind the scenes paid Patreon members. And I had another thing too that I am going to put for paid Patreon subscribers, all tiers. So for the $1, $3, and $6 behind the scenes, and then I'll have a bonus episode too for the other tiers. But yeah, I was working on that right before she had passed away. So I had just downloaded and was starting to edit, but my mind just couldn't concentrate. So all of that will be upcoming. Yeah. So thank you everybody for stopping by. I'm getting back into the swing of things. Yeah, so I will be editing and doing all that and writing again and easing into all that. And I'll have a more set schedule, hopefully, where I can tell you ahead of time and not just go live 10 minutes beforehand or on the wrong channel. But thank you guys for all stopping by. And I will put a note out with sources for this episode and download this and put it on the right channel as well. But I will see you guys. I'm going to go Christmas decorate and I have to go pay some bills and run uptown and get my prescriptions. But I will talk to you all later. Have a great day. Hope your daughter has a great nap, Sigmund Fraud. I'll talk to you all later. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.